The purpose of any religion, take for any religion, the Hindu religion, the Christian religion, the Muslim religion, the purpose of any religion is to awaken the spiritual consciousness, God consciousness, is to develop self-realization. That is the purpose of every religion. In fact, Prabhupada says that human life begins when religious life begins. Why? Because animals have the propensity for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And if humans also have the same propensity, these four propensities is as good as an animal. And what is the differentiating factor? The only difference between humans and animals is that humans can put effort to realize who he is, what is his relationship with God. And that's the purpose of human life. And religion is exclusively meant to awaken this consciousness. His true identity has to be awakened through the religious processes, whatever religious systems. The religious systems are meant for this purpose. Prabhupada says human life begins when religion begins. Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating are the four principles of animal life. These are common to both animals and to humans. But religion is the extra function of the human being. Without religion, human life is no better than animal life. Therefore, in human societies, there is some form of religion which aims at self-realization. So, religion is extremely important function of a human life. Kamasya nendriya priti labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasa narto yascheha karmabihi. The purpose of the human form of life is to understand Jiva's tattva, the truth about our existence, the truth about our identity. Why are we here in this material world? What is the purpose of life here in the material world? Why is there death? Why is there old age? Why is there disease? These are the fundamental problems, the fundamental inquiries that the human has to make. And this is the fundamental difference between human and animal, because human has the capacity to understand and find solutions for these problems. Human has the capacity to inquire these questions and get answers for those questions. And that's the fundamental purpose of human form of life. On the contrary, the modern society that we are living in has a different structure and a completely different purpose. We are living in a modern society, and the goal of modern society is very different. Prabhupada presents this very beautifully in one of the Bhagavatam purports. Prabhupada says that when the human civilization is not developed, you know what is the characteristic of human civilization which is not developed? Anybody knows? A civilization which is not so developed, we call ourselves very developed, isn't it? We're advancing in technology, we're advancing in understanding science better. There is improvisation of science. What is the meaning of advanced human civilization? Prabhupada writes here. He says, a civilization which is not very advanced. You know what is the nature of the civilization? There is always competition to lord it over material nature. There is continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. So competition in this material world is inevitable. Everybody is in the spirit of competition. Correct? There are competitive exams. And once you clear the competitive exams, you join the company, And in the company, there is KRA, there is a rating, you have to compete. So competition is a nature of a civilization which is not very advanced. So Prabhupada says, in today's modern civilization, man is completely dependent on economic development. He thinks that by competition, he can perform activities in the spirit of competition, the spirit of lording over material nature, to control nature. He wants to compete with other living entities. Correct? People want power, people want position, just like many of them write UPSC exams. Why? Why people aspire to become a UPSC aspirant? Majorly, somebody may want to serve the nation, somebody may want to help people, somebody may want the position, the power which comes from UPSC exam. Right? Imagine if after writing UPSC exam, you don't get any power, you don't get any position, but you get to serve the society. Will you still write UPSC exam? People may think. Correct? It is the perks which come along with your ability to serve, which motivates a person to write UPSC exam. Correct? But the central theme which revolves in the person's consciousness, which is the central theme which drives a modern human being, is what? Sense gratification. Through economic development. That is the central theme. In fact, there is a small history. We all know Karl Marx. Who's Karl Marx? He's actually the father of communism. Correct? It's like Russia is a communist country. He's called as the father of communism. Who? Karl Marx. Karl Marx assumed that religion is an imagination. And he believed that communism as an idea is against religion. Why is it against religion? Because he thought that the whole world is filled with capitalism. You know what is capitalism? Capitalism means there is a boss and there are servants to serve him. It's called capitalism. Just like in any company, there is a leader for the company and everybody serves him. For what? For mutual gains, for mutual economic gains. So this kind of a system is prevalent in capitalistic society, and there is unfair distribution of wealth. The poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer, and Karl Marx was against this. He said the poor people are the ones who are working hard, and the rich men are sitting in their houses, and they are getting the money. The poor people are not getting the money. So there must be equal distribution of wealth, is what Karl Marx proposed. So Karl Marx said the capitalistic people, they use religion to keep the servants submissive. How? He says religion talks about life after death. He says that, I will tell his exact words, he says that absorbed in this pursuit of other worldly satisfaction. What do you mean by other worldly satisfaction? Worldly satisfaction means satisfaction in this world. After death, religion promises that you will go back to God, you will enjoy there with God. This is called other worldly satisfactions. So absorbed in the pursuit of other worldly satisfactions, the workers neglect for an improvement in the socio-economic conditions today. They don't want to improve their social and economic conditions. So therefore they remain submissive. His boss says, hey, next life you're going back to God. This life you may struggle, but next life you're going back to God. So Karl Marx thought religion is a concoction of these capitalists. And he said religion should be banned. So Marx likened the social economic bondage of the working class as social economic bondage is caused by the religious system. So therefore, the communistic society rejected religion. They said religion is a burden. This of an idea that religion is a burden, and the idea that the wealth should be equally distributed to the rich and the poor is actually a communistic idea. This communistic idea became very, very famous in Germany. It also became very famous in Russia. And Russia adopted it and implemented it. But Prabhupada still condemns communism. Why? Prabhupada condemns communism because people are still not free from competition. They want a society without competition, where everyone gets equal opportunity. But Prabhupada says there is still competition because people are competing for the position of a leader. Because every communistic state is led by a leader. The government appoints a leader. And there is competition for that leadership. So competition-free society is what communism aimed at. But they are not able to achieve a competition-less society. So this kind of a structure is not favorable for God consciousness, neither capitalism nor communism. And in capitalistic society, an interesting observation is made. It's very relevant to all of us today because we are all functioning in this society. We are all living in this kind of an environment. So it's very, very important to understand how this capitalistic society is detrimental to God consciousness. So, in a capitalistic society, we all are living in a capitalistic society, a democratic society. In a capitalistic society, what is being valued in a capitalistic society? It is money which is being valued. The central theme of any organization, the central goal of any organization is revolving around money. Even if you have to do good work, you need money. If the organization goal is to satisfy people, still you need money, you need resources, you need people. Which is very good, there's nothing wrong in it. But in societies, there is a very interesting phenomenon which is happening. It's very important to understand. This phenomena breaks the society into individuals. Today, America is suffering from this problem. American people are highly individualistic by nature. Why are they individualistic? Because the whole society and its goal is primarily, and they've understood a very interesting phenomenon which is happening in such societies. In a normal society, in a Vedic society, economic affairs, market affairs were a part of social life. Social life was centered around religion. Of life was to understand God, was to relate with God. Every fellow human being is a family member. Correct? Vasudeva Kutumbakam. This kind of a concept was prevalent in the Vedic society. In fact, we have all heard in Vedic society, whenever the grihasthas cook food, they first call the people. If somebody is hungry, I've prepared food at my home. You can come to my home and have food. That's the kind of a society which was there. It was mutually supportive. Correct? The Varna and the Ashrama society was meant for spiritual evolution, spiritual development. That was the Vedic society. That is the purpose of religion. Religion talks about how society has to be designed, how society has to function, how everybody should be God conscious. What is the role of a leader? What is the role of businessman? What is the role of an administrator? What is the role of a brahmana? All these things were very clearly defined with the aim of spiritual development. But over a period of time, the introduction of capitalism, this idea of economy, which was mainly handled by the Vaishyas in the society. So Vedic society was there, and economic development was a part of the Vedic society, and the Vedic society's goal was spiritual development. But over a period of time, with the advent of capitalism, the whole equation has changed. The center of every society is not God consciousness. The center of every society is economic development. The center of every society is to produce more goods. The center of every society is to be a business engine. How can we make society a business engine? How can we relate? So when this kind of a motive is there as a central theme of the society, what happens to people and people relationship? Very interesting phenomenon. What happens to people and people relationship? Take for example, there is an insurance policy. People have this insurance policy. What do you call that person? Broker. What will he do? He will make his friends take up insurance policy. He will make his family member, his own brother, he will induce him to take up. What is he doing? Everybody he sees as a potential customer. Today when you work for a company, what do you see? You see for potential customers. Company looks for potential customers. So the whole society is actually a potential customer, because society can be a potential customer. Why does an individual salesman relate with another man? Because he's a potential customer. So the idea of market being a part of economy has shifted to being market. It's called market contract. The relationship between people is only contractual. What does that mean? If you're a customer, I will talk to you. If you're a potential customer, I will talk to you. I will not spend time. If you're a potential customer, I'll talk to you. Otherwise, there's no relationship between you and me. This idea is called individualism. In sociology, this is called methodological individualism. Methodologically, the society is breaking apart. I'll give another example. In USA, if you are having a house and there is a beautiful lawn in front of your house, I heard this from one of the senior devotees. If you don't maintain that lawn, you know what will happen? The grass which is green will turn slightly yellowish and look a little shabby, not clean. And that the neighbor's property value decreases. And then you know what the neighbor does? He goes to the court and files a case against you. That because of you not maintaining the lawn, my property value has decreased. There is a case in California where you see the level of individualism expressed in such societies. The son wants a divorce from the father. He says, I'm not Vasudhaiva Kutumba. Kutumba idea is not there. The Kutumba, these ideas. Let's be professional in our dealings. Professional means what? Contractual. I have my emotions. I have my pain. Doesn't matter. To be professional, I will talk to you nicely. There is pain in my heart. But professionalism means not showing any emotions, being professional in your work. Of course, it has benefits. It has produced wonderful systems. It has produced big Amazon industry. Today, by the click of a button, you can get the delivery order. Why? Because of such systems. It is a materially viable, materially feasible model which enables economic development, which enables free use of technology, which enables convenience for people. All of this is definitely there. but intrinsically it is breaking our society down into contractual relationship. Therefore, this hierarchical structure has to be very carefully implemented even within spiritual organizations. Prabhupada mentions about this. Prabhupada says individualism is not wrong. The idea of collectivism and a collective goal. Collectivism means what? We are all Krishna conscious devotees. We are all there in society. Prabhupada has formed society where collectivism, we treat everyone as God brothers. Everyone as disciples of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is our father. We are the followers of Prabhupada. There is collective idea. There is also individualistic idea. Prabhupada never discouraged individualistic expression. Somebody is a painter. He's good at painting. Prabhupada encouraged that. But while bringing out this idea of professionalism, it can also distort the spiritual society into a society which is simply based on contract. So Prabhupada has such a genius, he dealt with this. So here is a very interesting point. Here is an interesting quote from Srila Prabhupada's letter. So these ideas, these professional ideas, before I quote this, these professional ideas, there is nothing wrong. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Harmonist magazine, he recognizes that such organizations, such organizational structure should be implemented for the sake of preaching. And church, the Christians have done this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in the Harmonist magazine. He says, the Sarampur, there's a place in Bengal called Sarampur. The Sarampur church mission are very successful all over the world, all over India. And we should follow a similar model to them. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes. And what did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur do? He made an organization. He made an organizational structure. He formed the governing body commission. He said there must be an organizational structure, just like the modern corporate organizations have their own structure. That is how Gaudiya Math was formed. Prabhupada also followed the same lines. So this hierarchical organizational structure adopted from the capitalistic society has to be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. The idea of dovetailing is used in Krishna consciousness. We must use all of these ideas in Krishna consciousness. Just like mobile. Mobile can be used for good things, it can be used for bad things. Mobile can be used for Krishna consciousness or it can destroy Krishna consciousness. So it's very, very important to understand. Similarly, these ideas of modern society has its own repercussions. Only when we are guided by a pure devotee of the Lord, we can apply these things in Krishna consciousness properly. For that, we need to understand this Krishna consciousness, how this Krishna consciousness movement functions, how the organizational ideas are properly dovetailed in Krishna consciousness by Prabhupada with certain kind of a temperament. All this have to be understood very well. So, until and unless these ideas are understood very well, it is very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness in the modern world. That's why Prabhupada created an organization, an oasis, where we can practice Krishna consciousness very, very nicely. And we can live like a family. Prabhupada says he built a house where the whole world can live. That means everybody is a family. The idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be seen in ISKCON, within ISKCON premises. And Prabhupada formed such an organization. Without ISKCON, everybody in the society is slowly drifting into a contractual relationship. The relationship becomes highly individualistic. There is no collectivism. There is no idea of coming together. All of these things are repercussions of the modern civilization, which is based upon capitalism and democracy. But however, these concepts, if properly dovetailed within our organization, it can create a very big impact. A very, very big impact. That's how Prabhupada built 108 temples. Today we have the capacity of having all the temples across this world. Okay, so anyway, we are running out of time, so we will stop today's discussion by concluding that we can only understand the Supreme Lord under the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord, under the instructions of a pure devotee. Otherwise, we cannot perceive the Lord through our materialistic senses. It is not possible. So, Prabhupada has given us the process. The process is to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we can revive our dormant love for Krishna, and our true identity as a servant of Krishna will definitely be revealed to a sincere devotee of the Lord. So with this, we'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.